Hey, what is up, YouTube? I'm Aeroplane, and today I want to share with you an interesting mechanic that I just discovered today and realized that it's a lot more potent than people think. This is something that I haven't seen anyone talk about and something that I think is overlooked by many people. Ritualist is an ascendancy that I'll be playing on League Start, and it is currently rated as D tier on Fubgun Ruse tier list. That being said, the reason why I'm playing Ritualist is for the 3 rings that I'll be doing negative rarity farm, and that is where I did some testing, and that is where I realized this hidden gem. And that's going to be the latest change in the 0.4 patch notes that changed Ritual Sacrifice skill from the Ritualist. That has increased the duration of the modifier that you can steal from rare monsters in your maps from 20 seconds to 120 seconds at the top end. So that's 6 times longer than before. So I think many of you would think that this skill only gives you 1 random rare modifier from the rare monster that you cull, that you steal from. But from my testing, it seems to be a lot different from that. So let's jump right in. So how does the mechanic work? Essentially, you'll be going into your map, and that is where you will be stabbing the rare monster, and that is where you'll be getting a buff. Within a normal zone, that is where we can just do a random zone over here, and let me just slap it on. So within this mechanic, essentially, if you enter a map, you can stab yourself firstly to sacrifice 20% of your life. In this case, you can see over here in my Ritualist skill on the second and third line, Ritual Sacrifice can be using yourself to remove 20% of max life to get a random monster modifier, and you can only gain 1 modifier. So essentially, this is what you will be using before something like a boss fight if you don't have any modifiers, and you get a random modifier, and the downside is you can't tell what it is. You can open your tab and you can stab yourself until you get increased damage, but yeah, that is just one way to do it. And you will replace the modifier, and sometimes maybe you can get increased max life or you can get damage mods, and that is the first way you can do it. The second is going to be stabbing rare monsters in your map. So let me just quickly get to a rare monster. And there we go. Here, and modifiers. So when using it on yourself, you can see that you stab yourself in your map, it doesn't work in your hideout, and you get that 1 modifier that I showed before. And secondly, you have a rare monster over here, and then you can stab it, and you will gain the modifiers over here. You can see I got the ES modifier and got 2 modifiers from that monster that I just killed. So that is pretty much the mechanic, stabbing yourself or stabbing the rare monster. The most important thing here being that stabbing a rare monster grants you all of its modifiers and not just one of its modifiers. So here's a clip to show how it works. The same ones. I didn't get any rares in the breach, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, I can demonstrate the stacking now, right? Essentially, you'll stab the mob here for 2 seconds. You get the modifiers of the monster. Here you have a 3 mod monster. You stab it, and then it's going to be additive on top of whatever you have. You get 5 mods, and then you got another 2 here. Stab, and you get another 7 mods. And then this next league, this will last for essentially 4 minutes 42 seconds if you take the passives plus the prolonged duration gem. And what are the buffs that will work with this mechanic? So essentially what's going to happen is that when you stab a rare monster, you'll be getting 1 or a few of these buffs that you see over here. So there's like 60 plus buffs, and of which, you know, there's a lot of them that are very beneficial. So things like haste, hasted aura, increased damage. I think these are very, very potent ones, the obvious ones, and you know, things that you can benefit from stabbing the monsters in your map, and you have the option to do that. And what I've noticed after some degree of testing is that there's going to be a lot of things on your passive tree that can also scale and increase the duration that I personally tested and made sure that it works. Firstly, is going to be the nodes on the skill tree, things like increased skill effect duration along the prolonged assault as one example. So all of these modifiers increase the duration over here that you see from Ritual Sacrifice. Currently, this is from the pre-buff 0.3. So next league, it'll be at the baseline 120 seconds at level 90. And on top of that, that's where the skill effect duration will be multiplicative on top of that duration. And things like prolonged assault and multitasking will increase the duration of this buff. On top of that, that is where Prolong Assault also has a modifier to say buffs expire slower, which should also be multiplicative on top of skill effect duration. And last but not least, you also have a support gem that you can use, which is Prolonged Duration. That is another multiplicative bucket on top of that, because the wording here says more skill effect duration, and this says increased skill effect duration. So that all multiplies on itself. And very interestingly is that these passives on your tree will work on weapon set 1, but not weapon set 2. That's also something that I've tested. So if you're setting up your skills, and for myself, I'll be using a global modifier on multitasking, and I'll be setting up a weapon set 1 on my ballistas using Prolonged Assault for my Ritual Sacrifice to benefit from this without having to actually spend full points to do it. So if that's what you're going for, you can actually leverage weapon set passive 1 that will work with Ritual Sacrifice. There is a weird interaction here that your Ascendancy passives don't actually have a weapon set that you can use it with, and not like your grenades or whatever skills that you're using. So it doesn't work with weapon set 2, but works with weapon set 1, and there's just a interesting interaction there. Maybe a bug, maybe not, who knows. So yeah, eventually after scaling all of that and adding all the buckets together, mathematically that's where we will be able to reach in the 4 minutes and 24 seconds of buffs at level 90 onwards. And that is actually insane. So where I can see the functional use in mapping is going to be, you'll enter your maps, you're going to be killing rares, and you'll be observing the modifiers that you like, or you'll be looking out for, things like extra life, extra fire damage. If you see Shroud Walker with trash mods, of course you don't take those. And if you see modifiers like million revives or things like that, you just skip past those, right? You don't need to stab every single rare that you see. And things like resistances is great. It gives you max res if you want more survivability in your map. That's great and all. Of course, the best modifiers, in my opinion, are going to be haste, and aura, giving you increased movement speed, attack and cast speed, and they can stack additively even to give you really insane buffs. So in comparison to Headhunter, it is a little bit more difficult to use, because you have to stab the monster for 2 seconds in your map to gain the buff. But in the grand scheme of things, you are getting buffs that are going to be useful for you, and that is where you can stand to benefit from it. The beauty here is that I will be playing as a Ritualist, and I'll be eventually heading into negative rarity farm. So you can check out some of my previous videos on how I plan to set up my farm from about day 3 onwards. And the reason why I choose Ritualist is that negative rarity on Ritualist is the best, because that's where you can stack the most amount of negative rarity, and it is exponential scaling. The more negative rarity you get, the more white bases you get, and that is why this league I wanted to try out Ritualist, which gets access to 3 rings, because the only source of negative rarity is from Venter's Gamble. So that's why I'll be stacking 3 negative rarity rings with the ring scaling on the Ritualist, plus Ingenuity Belt. And also another reason, because we're using Ingenuity Belt, we can't use a Headhunter for our build, that we do have this Headhunter at home that lasts 4 times longer, more than 4 times longer in duration at the end game. So that's what I quickly wanted to share with you guys, and hopefully for you Ritualists out there, serves you well. So I'll be streaming live on Twitch for the first week of the league, and hopefully you'll have a great league start. If you liked the video, like, share, subscribe, comment down below, and I'll catch you in the next one.